mic, right? Didn't hear you back. Any responses from your side?
I think we are
We are
all
able to hear you, Puneet.
Yeah.
Oh, great, great.
You're
Thanks for
audible.
coming. My audio is working. Thanks, Ethan.
Nice pick.
So let me, along with my partner, my friend Dinesh Shani, welcome you all in this meetup. OKRs measure what matters. You know, OKRs nowadays is kind of buzzword in the business world, right? And many companies are going towards that. LinkedIn, Google, Amazon, Netflix, to name a few, right? Many more companies are moving towards that because they are something for sure, which is giving value to these companies. So the acronym OKRs stands for, okay, let me ask from the participants the full form of that, if anybody is willing to.
Yeah, it's objective
Okay,
and key results.
exactly. Objective and key results. Where especially the objective is what you want to achieve, where you want to go. And the key results are, the results which you want to achieve to meet that objective. And that is linked with the initiatives, kind of task which teams are performing to meet that key results. That is the whole concept of objective and key results. Right. Uh, before I start, unfortunately, I just want to break one news. One of our speaker, Ashutosh, is not joining us today because his entire family is down with COVID, and his father is quite serious. Yesterday, he got admitted in the hospital, and obviously, it's a great loss for us. But I think at this moment, I personally believe his family need him most. But no worries. Simon with us. Simon is with us. Simon is the one who is expert into OKRs, and uh, it's really difficult to introduce Simon in a very short time. But still, let me try to introduce Simon to you guys. Simon is a co-author of a book, beautiful book, which I have over here, Sooner, Safer, Happier. And this book talks about the patterns and anti-patterns of business agility and how the OKRs help us in getting the value in business and getting the outcome of business. Simon is also working as a global head for Saxo Bank, especially in enterprise architect and developer experience. And before I just hand over I'll stop here and just invite Simon to talk over here. I just want to take one more minute just to say we are going to record this session. Maybe somebody else need that recording so we can share that. And if you have any question in your mind, once Simon is going to stop with his talk, we can at least discuss on these questions. So without any further ado, Simon, over to you.
Thanks so much, Amit. Can you enable screen sharing for me, please?
Yeah, sure. Dinesh?
Simon, it is already enabled. If you can try.
Thank you so much. Let's give it a go. Cool. Awesome. So you should be able to see. You should be able to see let's hope this comes up in just a second. Something with the label Chapter 5. So the reason this is Chapter 5 is because this is from the book that I contributed to that came out in IT Revolution Press in November last year, called Sooner, Safer, Happier, Anti-Patterns and Patterns for Business Agility. The lead author is John Smart, who is Business Agility Lead at Deloitte. But effectively, John and the co-authors, Jolt Berendt, Miles Ogilvy, and myself worked together in the Ways of Working team at Barclays for 3.5 years. Now, none of us works for Barclays, but effectively, we spent a lot of time learning from mistakes in business agility. We started off by being the Agile transformation team. And then after a year or so, we decided that actually doing an Agile transformation is not necessarily the way that you want to transform your organization. In fact, trying to do a transformation, trying to say that this is just a program is not the right thing to do. And fundamentally, the focus of the book, Sooner, Safer, Happier, is about focusing on outcomes. So chapter 1 starts with the question, do you want to do an agile transformation? Don't. If you want to do an agile transformation, do not think about doing an agile transformation. Instead, focus on outcomes. Focus on 5 key outcomes: better, value, sooner, safer, and happier. Value is a unique outcome based on your business. And I must apologize. I am terrible. I'm being thrown out of the room. I'm going to carry on in just a second. Sorry. Okay, that's better. Focus on outcomes. So value is the business that you're in. You might be a fashion company that makes handbags. You might be a company that runs an airport, or you might be a large financial services conglomerate, in which case the value you deliver is through the amount of mortgages you sell or the amount of trading products that you trade. But value is unique. Better is about quality. Sooner is about optimizing flow. It says that effectively your time to market, originally we started with faster, but it's not about faster. It's about smarter flow. Happier is customers, colleagues, community, and climate. And safer is something that almost every organization has. Either you're safe in terms of cyber security, you're safe in terms of the regulations that you need to comply with. Fundamentally, this is about managing risk while you're delivering better value sooner and happier. So those, I guess, are the 4 outcomes, the 4 objectives, and all of those are measurable with key results. But what I'm going to talk about this afternoon is chapter 5 in the book, which is where we talk much more in depth about effectively about OKRs, but where they fit in building the right thing and what sort of anti-patterns you see when you're trying to build things according to objectives and key results, and how objectives and key results can fit into the patterns, the headwinds versus the tailwinds that might help you. Cool. So we will start with the initial anti-pattern. We've got 4 anti-patterns and 4 patterns for business agility, for building the right thing, for anchoring your objectives and key results. Anti-pattern 1 is about local optimization. It says you can get agile teams, and you can get agile teams who have their own individual objectives, their own individual ways of measuring how well they're doing. They might be doing awesome in terms of delivering high velocity. But the challenge is that they are an individual team. Great. They have a dev backlog and they're moving through individual user stories, maybe individual features. That's great. But then what happens when that feature is done? Well, that waits another 2 weeks to go into an integration environment. And then after that, it waits for another few days for somebody to accept it. And then it's got to be scheduled for a release, which only happens every 2 weekends. So that's great. The team are producing value fairly soon, but they're in the middle of a larger system. They've optimized locally, and great. We're releasing every maybe 4 weeks in that case. The team are releasing value daily, but their value doesn't actually get in front of customers until a 4-week cycle. But not just that. The value that the team are pulling, the stories, the work that the team are pulling comes off a larger product backlog that's maybe at a department level. And that comes from a business case. That might happen quarterly, or worst case, actually yearly. There's a steering committee, there's an idea triage. Monthly, quarterly, maybe even annual approval for business cases. That team, they're so freaking agile. They're great. They're delivering flow, they're delivering value, but they're in the middle of a much bigger cycle. And so the organization has not optimized for flow. The team may have optimized for flow, but it's the organization that is delivering value and flow. So that's an anti-pattern, is just that local optimization. if this cycle takes 18 months, then surely the stuff that the team is doing is not so urgent. And yet, once it's in that backlog, get this delivered now. There is this urgency paradox. And the question then is, what is the organization actually optimizing for? Then there is the second pattern, anti-pattern rather, which everybody will start to understand and everybody will recognize. A milestone. It's a stone. It's a dead weight. It's there in the ground. There is the place of process, and then you're stuck. There is literally a place called stuck, several miles away from us. So milestone-driven solutions are an anti-pattern, primarily because effectively they focus on activity rather than outcome. We'll talk more again about the pattern of objectives and key results. But if the only key results that you're being measured by is did you hit the date, then, well, value, which is the core of objectives and key results, is not something that you're concentrating on. You're literally going to throw everything out. You're going to throw out quality. You're certainly going to throw out happiness for teams because you're going to work them weekends or evenings. If the only thing you're focusing on is the dead weight of this milestone, then better value, sooner, safer, happier are not outcomes that you're focusing on because you have this one single date in mind. Then there is the anti-pattern of headless chickens. Effectively, people running around delivering stuff, delivering different things. They've been told they need to keep on delivering, deliver, feature. But there isn't an alignment. There isn't a company strategy that says these individual teams, these individual departments are all pulling in the same direction. One team is delivering this sort of yellow cube, another team is delivering the cylinder, another team is delivering the pyramid. Great, they're delivering things, and they might even be delivering these things super fast, maybe even to dates. But are these things actually turning the dials of company strategy, the North Star strategy that this company has? Well, who knows? Because these teams are just running around in order to deliver more and more, because the thing that they're measured on is how much have you delivered? Just how much? Not is that actually turning valuable dials within the company. And then the final anti-pattern we see is starting. Have more work in progress. Great, let's start this new initiative. Oh no, the business wants more stuff. Okay, we'll work on it in parallel. We'll start with one more thing. Oh, okay, there's another demand. Okay, right, we're working on this one. Well, no, the business needs to start on this one as well. So just starting, keeping on starting more. Again, this is certainly something we see here at Saxo, despite our ambition to try and rein it in. I am certain that that other people on the call have also seen this. So starting is, I guess, our final anti-pattern. So moving from those anti-patterns in value delivery, there are other tailwinds we've seen, things that we have seen to turn these anti-patterns around into focusing on value and delivering that value, those balancing measures of better, sooner, safer, and happier. In particular, the sort of thing that unites these is this word that we coined, which is valuativity. Something that I guess unites some of the earlier anti-patterns is this focus on just productivity, producing things without understanding how valuable they are. And so what we talk about is pivoting from productivity to valuativity. If value is at the heart of what you deliver, then things like just focusing on milestones, just focusing on how much you deliver, they start to become secondary because you have a North Star to say, well, actually, do we need to hit this deadline if it isn't producing the value we need? So that focus on value is key. And then, as you will see, OKRs are really the key to unlocking value. So first pattern is not optimizing for local flow, but optimizing for end-to-end flow. Mary and Tom Poppendieck in their book from the early 2000s called Implementing Lean Software Development coined the subtitle optimizing from concept to cash. Concept to cash is something we've managed to get as a hook line that even our CEO now understands. So optimizing from concept to cash. The interesting thing is things have moved on even further. Actually, it's not necessarily concept to cash. It's more these days concept to learning, because the concept that you have, you want to optimize getting that in front of customers as soon as possible so that you can learn whether the customers actually do find it valuable. You hope they do. You've probably done some customer research, but really you're not going to find whether the idea, the feature that you've ideated and developed, you don't know whether that's necessarily going to generate cash. You hope it is. So concept to cash is a good value stream to be optimizing for, but actually concept to learning is probably even more important. But that end-to-end flow, where it's concept to cash or concept to learning, is the full end-to-end process that you are optimizing for. So here we say long-lived products and long-lived teams are the best way to optimize this. Do some value stream mapping, understand who the people are that are involved in delivering value from concept all the way through to cash or learning, and sit them together, maybe not physically post-COVID times, but certainly see them in the same long-lived virtual or physical team, remove handoffs, or at least reduce handoffs between those long-lived teams. Make sure that they are optimized in a lean process way. If you need to query what a requirement means, you shouldn't need to go through a process or through an intermediary to speak to an analyst. You should effectively pick up a Slack channel. You should feel like you're in the same team and you're all pulling in the same direction. You shouldn't hand over to a test team. The testers are part of your team. You shouldn't hand over to an operations team, frankly, to deploy your software. Again, DevOps attitude says you build it, you deploy it, you run it. So this value stream is all about that sort of long-lived, optimal, lean, and ideally automated team who are able to take concepts and deliver them all the way through into customers' hands. Amazon, for example, talks about 2 pizza teams. Those 2 pizza teams that Amazon runs, they're called 2 pizza teams because it takes 2 pizzas to feed them. As Martin Fowler points out, that doesn't necessarily mean European size or Indian sized pizzas. These are pretty huge American pizzas, so maybe those teams are sort of 18, 20 people, but typically it's a relatively small team that contains product ownership, analysis, development, testing, operations, and they can deliver that all the way from concept to cash. And that doesn't mean that things like projects go away. You've got value streams, and those value streams are nested. So you might have one big value stream that looks at retail banking, and then a smaller nested value stream that looks at savings, and then a smaller value stream that looks after individual products or platforms within that. They get funded over long term. It's an anti-pattern if things are not value streamed aligned. It's an anti-pattern if you have deterministic outputs over outcomes. So then what you've got to start to look at is outcome hypotheses. This is, I guess, the heart of OKRs. This is the O. So what do those outcome hypotheses look like? Again, well, frankly, they're nested. Where does the business want to be in 12 months? And then what outcomes can we define over a 3-month period? Typically, we try and define outcomes over quarters. Customer is at the heart of the outcome. Who's the customer who's actually trying to be pleased, trying to deliver value to? How do you expect that customer's behavior to change by this feature or capability you're giving to them? Then 4 quadrants of defining that OKR. What's the problem statement? What are the insights and drivers? Why have we come to this conclusion that this is a capability or feature we want to deliver? We have this sort of hypothesis template, very similar to the user story template. Due to this insight, we have a hypothesis. We believe that, and this is typically articulated, or this style of language is quite difficult to introduce in some organizations. We have a bet. This might not work, but we believe that this particular capability that we're going to bet on, we're going to bet some money on building this, will result in an outcome. And we'll know we're on the right track when we see some indicators. This is where the key results start to come in. So we believe that piloting online ID verification will result in delightful customers and at least maintaining our market share. We'll know when we're on the right track in some things that we can measure. So key results. This is the crucial stuff. Key results have to be leading indicators. They have to be things you can measure soon. So typically you might, when you're sort of getting a start with measuring key results, you might say, great, what are our key results? It's the bottom line, it's money we make. That's not going to work. Unless you're seeing revenue coming in from your product, like in the minute you launch a new feature that you pay for, and maybe some organizations are doing that. Most organizations, the bottom line is a lagging indicator. It's absolutely not a leading indicator. It's not something that you can measure soon after you launch your MVP of your feature. You have to do the work to say, what is the leading indicator that I know I am doing the right thing with this outcome? That can be quite hard. So indicators of performance that could, have in the past, should predict future success. Those lagging indicators that actually will hit the bottom line. Examples: visits to your site, downloads of your application, applications to join a particular product online, getting things right the first time when you onboard customers, how long a process takes. These are typical leading indicators, things that you can measure either immediately or very soon after launching your feature. And finally, those impact metrics, the lagging metrics that say that's positive impact to your customers, to your colleagues, to society, and of course, the thing that keeps you going in business. NPS again, it's not a leading indicator. It's going to take quite some time to be able to actually impact your net promoter score. You hope that things you're doing will do it, but ultimately you have to have some leading indicators, some things that you can measure that you believe are going to impact it. And finally, of course, those lagging indicators that are actually there in your bottom line. How much revenue are you earning? Okay. Pattern 3 here is intelligent flow of outcomes. So we've talked about the value streams, we've talked about the nesting of value streams, and then, well, how do you get those outcome hypotheses delivered? Well, the way you do that, again, it's by nesting outcomes. We've talked about the North Star goals, and then we have portfolios worth of outcomes, epics, year by year, and then those individual outcomes, the quarterly things which are delivering value quickly, that we can align ideally to individual value streams to give them autonomy to be able to deliver in a decoupled way. It might not be possible, depending on your organization, depending on your architecture. You might, unfortunately, have to give those to not necessarily autonomous teams, but over time, and this is dealt with in other chapters of the book, you should be heading towards an organization that is able to have individual teams delivering value independently. So we go from a project with milestones, a plan, something that's deterministic, has a fixed path. This is not what OKRs are there for. They're there to help you deliver value instead of just blindly following a predetermined plan. We move from projects to long-lived products, embodied as value streams, from milestones Two, outcomes. Outcomes really are the opposite of milestones. They might happen to align with dates, but ultimately it's the outcomes that you're looking to deliver, not individual deadweight milestones. From a predetermined plan to a roadmap that will actively change as you start to deliver and as you start to learn. Both learn in how you're able to build and learn in how you're able to deliver value and affect the key results with the things that you are delivering. Again, from being deterministic and having the, to a degree, arrogance to know up front that you know what's good for your customers, to having hypotheses that are embedded in your objectives and embedded in the beliefs that you will be able to change your key results, and being able to learn, saying that actually we will experiment. No experiments are failures. If you learn something from an experiment, you've not failed. You've succeeded in learning. And finally, pattern 4 is stop starting. We talked about starting. Pattern 4 is one that those of you who know anything about Kanban and Lean understand. Stop starting, start finishing. This is the point of work in process limits, work in progress limits, to say, if you carry on starting, you are going to end up like the highway on the right. You're just going to have a traffic jam. So stop starting, start finishing. Once you've finished one thing, then you can start working on another, and then you can prioritize delivery of value. So principles: visualize your work, limit work in progress, and stop starting, start finishing. That's it. That was chapter 5 of Sooner, Safer, Happier. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you very much, Simon. Thanks, Ethan. That was really insightful. And I'm telling you guys, if you got a chance to look into the book, beautiful book, especially that talks about how agility can be, we can achieve agility through this OKRs and the anti-patterns and patterns of agility, everything. Beautiful and wonderful book. I have this and almost done with this. I'm loving it. So
it's very kind of you. Very kind of you.
No, indeed, this is a really great book, guys. So I'm strongly recommending that. So maybe we can open this for the participant if they have some questions for you, Simon. So
To take questions.
anybody has any questions? Any
I
questions,
have,
especially on
I-
yeah, please.
yeah, thank you, Simon, for sharing your thoughts and writing this book for us. I'm yet to order it. Yeah. I have questions regarding the OKR. OKR is being more subjective. I mean, is there any tool how we can visualize this is actually happening? Because whenever you write the OKR, it's textual. If you do not visualize,
Yes.
I think,
Yes.
yeah, you understand what I mean, right?
Absolutely. So there are, I mean, it is a really sort of cutting edge space with tooling. And it's certainly something here at Saxo that we're exploring. My colleagues in the Better Value, Sooner, Safer, Happier space, they recommend something called Just 3 Things. That is a tool that very much focuses on both writing and continuously measuring OKRs. So as you say, the core of OKRs is the key result.
Yeah.
Which is numbers, which is things that you can visualize, and visualizing the progress of that is absolutely key. So yes, there are a number of tools in the space. Just 3 Things is the one I have to hand. I know that our colleague Stefano was exploring another one. If you will, if you let me, I will send a list of what the tools are in the space to Amit to send on to the meetup participants. There's a list of, I think, 4 or 5 that are seen as best in class in the OKR space.
Okay, thank you. Looking forward to that one.
Cool. So anybody else has any questions to Simon, our expert, our speaker, related to OKRs? In fact, I do have a question to you, Simon, especially, and I have experienced this, that I have seen this. The organization normally put everything into OKRs, their daily operational work, day-to-day work, right? And I read somewhere at John Doerr's line that OKR is something which normally instigate your thoughts, challenge you to achieve something which is very unique. It's not about that you
Yes,
are putting everything which is kind of normal day-to-day work. So how it should go? What is your thought on that?
you're right. So in the same way that you should limit work in progress, you should also limit the OKRs that you're looking to achieve. For sure, there will be other activities that you need to do in order to, in order to run your organization, in order to do the, as you say, the mundane things, rather than the things that will genuinely stretch your organization. So yes, but per team, if you have a 2 pizza sized team, there shouldn't be 20 OKRs on your backlog. Every quarter, you should have roughly 1 to 3 OKRs that you're focusing on. And as you implied, those OKRs should be stretch targets. Yeah, it shouldn't be that you are judged badly if you say, great, it would be really great if we hit a 5-minute reduction in our 10-minute onboarding process. If you hit 3 minutes, that's also really awesome. 5 minutes should be seen as a stretch target. You might even not know how to hit 5 minutes, but you should be encouraged to be able to push the envelope. So yes, you're right. Two conclusions there. Firstly, yes, OKRs should be limited to the things that genuinely stretch you to add more value. And secondly, see them as stretches. Don't think that hitting 100% is the thing that will get you your bonus at the end of the year. Hitting 70 or 80% should be seen as really awesome.
That's great. Thank you for that. Thanks, Satan. Anybody else? Anybody has any questions?
Yeah, I have one. Hi, I'm Sudha Khandelwal. I'm calling from Dubai right now. I have
Hi,
one
Sada.
question. Hi. So basically, so there are some OKRs which is given by management to the product owners, and I have around 15 teams working on OKRs given by management. I mean, obviously, it was decided among product owners who are the squad leaders as well. Among like the leadership team sits with product owners, and then they set the OKRs for 20. So like they have done it for year 2020, and then they have done it for year 2021 as well. Now my question is that OKRs coming from top down, okay, and then squads are supposed to work on day-to-day work, and then they need to achieve that, and every quarter we assess that what is the achievement, what is the progress we have made on those OKRs. Now sometimes in some squads I see, like some teams I see, people are very much in line with the OKRs, and they understand that whatever we are doing in day-to-day work is impacting the OKRs achievements, and we are making progress. But for some squad, like most of the squad members, the actual developer who's working on the functionality doesn't have a clue that whatever he's working is actually helping to achieve some OKRs. Okay, so how do I solve that thing? That is my question. Like, how do we make sure the day-to-day work is helping to achieve that particular OKRs?
This is probably another half-hour session. There is no easy magic wand on this. So there are a whole bunch. I mean, again, please do go away and read the book, but there are a whole bunch of sort of patterns to try and hit for this. Some of this, as you probably know, if you've come across Dan Pink's book, Drive is about making sure that the organization tries to promote autonomy, mastery, and purpose, in particular purpose, to everyone in the organization. It's the sort of triplet of motivating factors. If developers genuinely don't feel a connection to the purpose of the organization, then, well, it's not just that they're not going to turn the OKRs, it's that they're not going to feel driven to work better. So there are patterns to do this. Some of this depends on how your product owners came up with those OKRs in the first place. Did they involve the individual team members in compiling those OKRs? Did they say, are these realistic for you guys to deliver? You know, do you feel connected?
So yeah, so they haven't included the individual team member in when they're creating the OKRs, though individual team members is aware of the product vision and the journey. They're aware of it, but how these 6 OKRs which is given to their product owner is actually day-to-day work is how they are, you know, helping in that's where is the disconnect.
Yeah, so my
no, go
this
on,
question is really right. In fact, and I think this is happening most of the organizations where they are, you know, using OKRs. One point is missing there, which is a pain for most of the people. That is about how I can measure whether I'm going to the right direction or not. We got some kind of, you know, insight from the top-down approach. We got some vision from the management saying we need to do it. As a product owner, we are okay. As a team member, we are doing it. But it's very rare that people are going to say, "Oh, you are doing this." I'm just giving an example to you. So if the organization is saying you have to run 20 kilometers, that is the objective, right? Now this totally depend on the team how they are going to run. Whether they're going to run, you know, half a kilometer or 750 meters every day, or they want to run 1.5 kilometer every alternate day. We find that way. But what we want to achieve from that? If you're running 20 kilometers, that means we want to reduce weight. We want to be fit, right? But how we are going to measure it? Nobody measures that. We put so many things over there, but there is no criteria of measuring that. Okay, are the results which we are giving, whether they are aligned with our vision or not. So if that criteria is there, let's do one thing in a quarter or half year, whatever the, you know, the cadence of the OKRs is. Time to time, let's measure whether we are going right direction or not. And there should be some kind of steps. Okay, if we are going to achieve this, if I'm reducing my 2 kgs weight in next 15 days, that means yes, I'm heading towards right direction. That part is normally missing. If we incorporate that, might be we can achieve.
Okay, good suggestion. Okay.
And I think the one thing I guess I would add there is I can't find it to hand immediately. There is Henrik Knieberg, quite famous diagram about alignment and autonomy. You know, some of the OKRs absolutely need to be handed down from above. You know, what does the organization do? What's its mission? You're not going to get every team member involved in defining what the mission of the organization is. It's more how do you as a team achieve that? And do you feel empowered that, you know, you've been given a goal and you've been given some numbers to hit, but it's more, do you feel empowered and autonomous in doing that? The Knieberg diagram basically says sort of like there's an anti-pattern where a big boss says to the team, right, we've got to get from A to B, you go and build a bridge. Whereas the pattern is, well, look, as an organization, we've got to get from A to B, you guys decide on what the solution is here. You know, and if the team feels empowered to at least feel that they have some ownership of the solution to hitting the OKRs, that's definitely going to get them, I guess, more feeling of autonomy and purpose.
Yeah,
exactly, and more alignment.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Cool. Thanks,
Yeah,
Sudha.
thank
Thanks
you.
for asking this question. Thanks, Atan.
Yeah, thanks so much. Yeah, thanks.
So, any other questions?
So Simon, what is the duration of the OKR which you suggest in a standard way?
Yeah, so I guess the pattern we try to look at is based on alignment cadences. It's nested OKRs. So let me try and pull up the slide again with the nested OKRs. Just 2 seconds. This Google Drive is very slow. There we go. Sorry, I'm just going to share that one again. Okay, so here, what we say is, look, your company strategy is likely to be multi-year. So here in Saxo, we tend to look 3 years ahead. We have a strategic execution plan of 3 years, and that has some key results to it. And then again, depending on the shape of your organization and the size of your organization, we would say divide that into 3 more layers. Firstly, outcomes that belong to a portfolio that are sub 3 years. Maybe you've got an 18-month, 2-year horizon. And then within an individual epic for a portfolio, around, less than or around 12 months. So what do you expect to achieve over the next rolling 12 months? How do you judge what good looks like? Again, that horizon is continuously shifting, so you need to adapt it. But have that sort of 12 months look ahead. Where, for example, do you expect net promoter score to be for your organization in 12 months' time? What are you aiming to drive that up to? And then finally, at team level, we expect the OKRs to be roughly a quarter long. So during this quarter, we have this hypothesis, we expect to turn these dials. A quarter is, again, this is just based on observation of well-functioning teams. A quarter feels like about the right time frame to say, let's check points, let's see how we've done. So it might be a slice of that portfolio epic, it might be a slice of that sort of 12-month long thing. How much of this can you achieve in a quarter? This is a checkpoint, we expect to turn these dials. It might not be one whole capability that you've delivered, but at least take that checkpoint at the end of the quarter. Does that answer your question, Gavin?
Yeah, yes, it is. So, let's say there's an organization which set for every 6 months.
Yep.
So in mid, say for example, every quarter, I would like to measure how are we progressing. So
exactly. Take a checkpoint, because frankly, you might decide that thing you're working on, you've launched an MVP of it, and actually the customers hate it. So you don't carry on delivering it for another 3 months just because you had this 6-month objective. 12 weeks, 1 quarter, 12, 13 weeks, feels like about the right checkpoint for that.
All right, thank you. Maybe a follow-up question, if I'm allowed. Say for example, somebody writing the OKR for the first time. So what is your guidance or tips which you would like to give to the people?
I would definitely say read the book. We have this little template, but there are references to sort of how to do better leading indicators. Like I said, leading indicators are hard. When you're used to writing business cases tend to be on lagging indicators. They tend to be, we'll make this much revenue, we'll reduce this much cost. Turning that into a set of leading indicators, you can run day or week-long workshops on the techniques to do that. So please do read chapter 5 of the book. Have even double-click into some of the references that we put in the book. This is absolutely something that deserves a lot of research for people. It's not something that you can just give them a template and then say, go away and fill this in.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Simon. Thank you very much. And on behalf of the entire Agile, the entire team of this Agile when this meetup, I really want to apologize again one more time, because we missed our second speaker, Ashutosh, because of his entire family is down with COVID, and his father is quite serious. So be with us, and thank God we do have Simon, who's the expert on that. So hopefully, if we don't have any other questions, do we have any? If no, then I think it's time to conclude. Then we can before time. And thank you very much, Simon, for being here with us. Thank you very much for taking out some time. And guys, thanks it and everyone for joining in. That was wonderful.